All right, stand by. Here we go. Inspiration, brave action, and heartwarming journeys. This is what the Louise H. Reed Show brings you. Now, here's your host, Louise H. Reed.
Hello, friends. So happy to have you here again this Tuesday morning. Thank you for joining me again today. With listeners in over 145 countries around the world and millions of iTunes downloads and ongoing podcasts, I'm the fortunate host with you here every Tuesday at this time to explore the incredible journey of amazing people who've truly embraced the notion of taking brave, bold action in pursuit of their dreams and goals while doing good in the world. What a powerful, powerful combination. My regular listeners know that I started my coaching business, Redefining Motherhood Academy, to empower and uplift women. And I'm thrilled to have a collaboration with an organization called Pearls with Purpose. It is a social impact organization dedicated to disadvantaged women and helping them in India, Cambodia, and the Philippines by teaching them the art of jewelry making and the science of running a business. I know I have a wonderful guest on with me today who shares a similar purpose and shows up differently in this world, but has that mission of uplifting and empowering others. So I'm absolutely thrilled to welcome Ashley Horner to the show. So welcome, Ashley.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
I'm so thrilled. You mentioned in a social media post, it's been a long time coming, and it has been us connected. I have a whole questions, but what questions I've gathered myself and that I have received from others on social media who sent them to me saying, Ashley's on your show. Please, can you ask her these burning questions that I have about her and how she has achieved the success in her life? But before we get to those, I'd like to share with the listeners a little bit of information about you. So let's go through your bio here. Here we go. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So born and raised in Baltimore, Maryland, Ashley is a woman of true depth, character, and resilience. To truly get to know Ashley Horner, you need to peel back the layers of her life like an onion. She has experienced abandonment, orphanages, adoption, child abuse, child sexual abuse, domestic violence, a suicide attempt, discrimination, and addiction. She's even donated a kidney to help a dear friend at work. Despite all the uphill battles and challenges, she rises every day. Tragedies, however, do not define Ashley. They actually strengthen her. In fact, one day Ashley hit rock bottom, down to her core, and made a decision to make a change. It was at this time she slowly grew much stronger and even created a toolkit for her overall well-being. Ashley's mantra, keep getting up, every single day. Ashley's now on a mission to help others navigate through their pain and life's challenges. As Ashley says, if I can help just one person. So how actually does Ashley go about doing this? A variety of ways, a couple of which I'll mention here. Ashley is the owner of The Hire Group, LLC, a Baltimore-based woman-owned diverse certified recruitment firm. Her business specializes in helping veterans and their families and the LGBTQ community secure employment. She has also founded Anchored Souls in 2018, in April 2018, and her organization provides support for those enduring life's challenges and worst, tragedies and loss. Now Ashley is living out her dream and her passion and her why with her wife in Baltimore. She has several businesses all serving to fulfill her why. They together are raising their 4 fur babies and a granddaughter. Ashley has a daughter and 2 sons. Her wife has a son and a daughter. So once again, Ashley, thank you for joining me today and welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
So where do we start with all of this stuff? Like, considering all of what you have been through, I'm really curious to understand, as I'm sure our listeners are, at what point and how did you decide to go through, to shift your life towards something positive when it likely would have been so much easier to stay small in the suffering?
Honestly, it's something that I continue to share with anybody who asks about my story. And the moment is when I woke up to my father holding my hand after attempting to take my life. And when I saw the pain in his eyes, and this is, gosh, almost 25 years ago, when I saw the pain in his eyes and just sharing with me that I had done this terrible thing, he didn't understand it. And I just felt that it was time to really work through, not go around it, not go under it. Not, I knew at that point I had to work through all of the emotional garbage that I had gone through over the years, and that just masking it, just covering it up with a smile, it wasn't going to fix it. And so it was time to do something different.
Well, and you share that always so bravely, and I know that it makes a difference. It really does. One conversation at a time, it truly does. And thanks to social media, we can spread that that story far and wide. And so, so what was the first step then? You had that realization there with your dad, and I mean, I can only imagine the emotions that went along with that. How did I ask this so that a listener who right now, that if that story resonates with them, they can kind of understand, what did someone else do, and maybe I could try that too.
Talk, open up, find someone that's going to listen, keep talking until you find someone that's going to listen. And I urge, the listeners here now and anybody that hears me when I speak, that I actually did a post on this not so long ago, that, promise that you will be that listener. It's just as important to, the person that's struggling to talk, that they also have someone that's going to listen. So we need to do a better job listening.
Don't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so how long, I know you and I met through LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
And LinkedIn video is a relatively recent thing. What inspired you to share your story in such a social way? You don't have the opportunity to discern who's listening. So it's pretty raw.
It is. And, honestly, multiple conversations that I had through LinkedIn. LinkedIn was really my original platform to start to share my story. And I started to just build relationships and people that I had grown to trust. One of those individuals just finally pushed me to a point where he's like, "Are you kidding? Why are you not sharing your story?" And I had a real hard time thinking about the fact that I would be putting my personal business out there. I mean, I was here to run a business. I was here to sell. I was here for all the wrong reasons initially, honestly. And when I started to really think about, gosh, what impact could I make? And I always thought, years ago, I thought, I'll write a book some point in my life, and never did it. And, as far as sharing my story, I never did it. I kept it to myself within my family unit, and that was it. It wasn't necessary in my mind to share that story, a very personal story, raw story, with other people. So, then it was the conversation about, hey, write a book. You would be doing a disservice to others by not sharing your story. And then someone very clearly stated to me, Ashley, people already love you. They're going to fall in love with you when they hear your story, because they're going to see what you've done to get to where you are today. They're going to see the authentic, they're going to see the real, they're going to see the raw. And that's what people need to see. So back in May, I decided to go ahead and just roll with it and just tell my story one video at a time. And I could not think about the fact that I was putting it in front of 500 million people. I just hit record and off I went.
And went with it. And so tell us what that journey has been like since then, in terms of the response people have, been giving to you, and how it's helped you in your own journey.
It's been amazing. I really thought there were going to be a lot of naysayers and maybe some comments that were going to make it difficult for me to continue this journey. But it's been the complete opposite. the testimonials, be it the people that have reached out to me directly in, messaging or, in the comments, people wanting to talk to me directly because it is helping them that I have shared my story. It's been tremendous. And one thing has led to the other. And if it's starting a YouTube channel, because I realized the impact has been pretty fantastic. And then the launch, that's what created the launch of Anchored Souls, because I realized that the impact was much greater than I ever realized it could be.
And you're such a storyteller. You really are. You've got the gift of storytelling. I watch your videos all the time and just feel I'm lured in, and in a positive way, with a positive reason and a positive impact. With social media being what it is today, I'm absolutely thrilled when I see it being put to positive use, because unfortunately we do know how much it is being put to negative use, and how that actually can be used to destroy people, destroy relationships, and destroy families. And for me, that's what is also so powerful and empowering about the message you share and how you choose to share it. So I have a lot of questions coming in from some of our friends and connections on LinkedIn. So I really want to get started on some of these, because I'm afraid that the hour may pass with all of my curiosity and I may not get to all of these. So Evans Duran asked a question, and I think it's relevant to ask now. So if you look back, what are the pivotal moments, choices, or decisions you've made that have most influenced your journey to where you are today?
As I said, I think that, it's two-part. The first is what I've already mentioned. It was the attempt on my life and failing. And so I put the positive spin on that. And then sharing my story publicly has been extremely pivotal. And it definitely has put me in a place where I am realizing that the impact is tremendous, and so I will continue.
You mentioned a few minutes ago how you were nervous, understandably, about putting yourself out there to however many users there are on LinkedIn, because you did have an established business. So talk to us a little bit about what that business is, and then how it has impacted your business.
So the Hire Group is a recruiting firm, and I initially struggled with quote unquote coming out as a gay woman, and so that was a bit of a struggle. But then on top of that, now I'm going to share all these like really deep-seated secrets that I've held on to for so long, right? And quite frankly, I really had to accept the fact that if there was someone that did not like my messaging, they just were not my right audience. And did I really want them as a client? And it's not to say that I don't want clients. It's not to say that I don't want my business to do well, but I also don't want to feel that I need to defend who I am and what I've gone through to get to where I am today. And so it is important to just be you, truly. And so that's what I'm practicing, what I preach. Just go out there and just be who you are.
It sounds like such a simple thing, and it actually isn't. It is and it isn't, in a way.
It's not.
Once you can clear out sort of the noise and the self-sabotaging voices that we hear both in our own minds and that externally we hear, once we can kind of quiet those and listen, like slow down and listen to ourselves, it really is quite clear. But we don't live in a society where that's something that we're sort of taught to do or really encouraged to do.
Yeah, there's always going to be some kind of noise, but the fact of the matter is that I have an amazing support system here at home, and then also just in my LinkedIn community primarily, which is now transferred over to Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, and so it continues to grow, and people believe in me, and that says a lot. People see that I'm real, people see that I'm authentic, and every time I post something, it's about life, it's all those things that we've all struggled through. I'm just, for some reason, brave enough to say it, and it resonates, it's relatable.
It does. And, you know, with all of the typical sort of Instagram and Facebook posts with all of the filters, and, you know, as putting our best foot forward, your stories are in contrast to that. It's more that this is just real life. And I think there's something really that really connects and resonates with others. So you now have 3 businesses.
Yes, and I'm working on a 4th.
You're working on a 4th. What do you want to share about those? And then I have a question in relation to the juggling all of those balls. So tell us just a little bit about the others.
So Anchored Souls is the platform to talk about all the difficult topics that nobody really wants to talk about, but we need to. And the reason that I'm doing that is because, again, people are finding these stories relatable. They do resonate. And it's, you know, the quick example about that is one of the topics that I cover is suicide. You know, social media and media in itself, it's like the shiny new car is what gets talked about. So when Anthony Bourdain and Kate Spade died from suicide, it was talked about heavily. So I asked the question, when's the last time you heard about suicide in the media? And so what I set out to do is very specifically is continue to bring these very difficult topics to the forefront, start removing labels and removing the stigma.
You said something in there I wanted just to interject because I was actually having a conversation with my partner the other day about this. You said it died from suicide, and that's not what we typically hear. We typically hear people say committed suicide, and so different. I know I've got a very strong belief in this, but I want to hear from you. Why is that those words, those different words being used when you describe suicide so important?
Well, there's a lot of verbiage that is correct and incorrect as it relates to suicide. And in speaking for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, they teach you that. And quite frankly, it's not sexy. It's not okay. And it's not a success. It's not a failed attempt. You have to be very, very careful. And I think that, unfortunately, again, because of media, we have almost, you know, we've kind of turned the blind eye to what this is truly about. It's mental health. There is so much involved with this: depression, anxiety, just feeling lonely, feeling at a loss, and just truly, as I've said, you know, for me, it was that this became an option. And that's one thing we're not supposed to say. It's not an option. Mm-hmm. So it definitely is something that people need to be aware of when they're talking about suicide. Just make sure that you're using the right words.
Yeah, language is so tough. I mean, and same with, you know, the LGBTQ language. I've done a lot of training myself in that, having worked in diversity and inclusion previously when I was actually working in corporate. So much to actually know. So you talked to us about the higher group. You talked to us about Anchored Souls.
Anchor Kids is the next one. Anchor Kids with a Z. This is truly another passion of mine. I mean, I have so many different passions, but this one came to me, and I'll use Jay Andrews' phrase of that I would have an epiphany while I was out from surgery back in June. And I literally was just sitting in my living room, recovering, feeling sorry for myself for a minute. And I look over at my granddaughter and I was like, God, why didn't I think of this before? We need to provide support. We need to have resources for children with absent parents and for the kinship caregivers. There's very limited access for those resources. And the ultimate goal is, there's so many components to this, but the ultimate goal is that I want to build a camp that these children will be able to go to either for a weekend or a week, and they can just go and be them and not be different because they show up at a playground, and suddenly they don't have they don't have mom or dad there. There's a grandparent, there's another caregiver, or aunt or uncle, and so they're different. So when the kids are asking, "Where's mommy? Where's daddy?" they can't say, right? So and again, it's another platform to provide help for this group of children because they're at such a disadvantage. And it could be because of addiction, it could be because of incarceration, tragic death, or combat, loss in combat.
I love how you have made your passion or your pain, you've identified your passion through your pain and made that your purpose. There's so much of yourself that you give to all of what you do. And Nicole Chauvin has a question for you about all of these multiple projects that you're working on. She wonders, what fears do you still have, if any, as you seem fearless, moving forward with your multiple projects? Yeah.
I think honestly, the biggest fear that I have is just that, everyone fears failure. I feel failure, that one of them is going to fail, and not necessarily that it's going to fail and I'm going to be considered a failure, but it's more so that I've failed someone else.
Right.
All of these are needed in one way or another. And so if I don't keep pushing, then the assistance that I'm able to provide, the resources that I'll be able to build are then going to be gone. People need this.
Absolutely. And so what tips would you have, like say 3 tips Hervey wants to know that you would give entrepreneurs who are starting a passion project? It sounds like you've started a few and now it sounds like there's a 4th. So what's tips or strategies?
Don't quit.
I love that.
And you made a great point. I mean, everybody talks about my passion. That's what it is. Do what you love. Build on what you love. Build on the passion that you have. That makes it easy. It doesn't feel like work. And then I would say the 3rd thing is just put your nose down, stay focused, and make it happen.
Love it. Love it. That's awesome. And so with all of these passion projects that you're involved in, I know that there are a tremendous number of people and of organizations who are wanting to get a piece of you, right? To have a conversation with you, to have time with you for whatever reason, all good intentions, whether it's because they feel a connection with you and they want to be part of your story, or they want some inspiration from you, or they want to collaborate with you. Deanna Stinson-Reese wants to know, how do you discern which partnerships are best to be involved with versus which ones may not be the best fit?
So I am a firm believer in following my gut. I build relationships, and if those relationships are sustainable and there's a value add on both sides, I'm a firm believer, give, take. And, building those relationships, I've built some tremendous relationships throughout this journey. And I trust some amazing people out there that we are truly in this together. And, if my gut doesn't feel right, I kind of peace out. If that's so important to me, and it's proven to be true. If I pushed against my gut feeling, I'm just being paranoid, it's proven that I should have just let it go. And, and I tend to hate myself for moving forward. But, I think I will continue to go down that path. And there are many people that I still wish to talk to and want to collaborate with, and staying intentional doing that.
So what does 2019 look like for you? What's your biggest goal for 2019?
So there's been some word that, and I've shared that I am building an app, and it is a recruiting app. Yeah. I'm really excited about it. There are some people that are along for the ride on this one. It's been a journey. Again, it was my other epiphany, if you will, while I was wallowing in my pain and all that after my surgery. And I think to myself, why did it take so long? I've been in the recruiting industry for so long, and I cannot figure out why I didn't think of this before. But here we are. And through some really great conversations, and again, building relationships and very intentional relationships here on this, on the LinkedIn platform, it just really putting it out there, building out the development team. We have that, and now there's a contest that's actually going on now. They're going to be announced this week about the app name. And November 2nd, I'm meeting with the team, and we are moving forward. And so we're looking at a launch the beginning of the year, and super duper excited. And what I consistently say to people is, and my tagline with the hire group is bringing back the humans. You know, there are so many problems as it relates to recruiting, and it's not just about recruitment firms. It's the candidate experience, the client experience, it's internal hiring. I truly believe that this is going to turn recruiting into a process that is going to change everything that we know about recruitment today.
It's amazing. And you and I have talked a little bit about that before, because having run recruitment in a variety of different corporations, I know of which you speak. I know those pains. And we have all been a candidate at some point or another, and know what that's like to get, put your resume into a seemingly black hole, and not hear anything about their frustrations on many areas. So I'm really excited to see and hear how this app goes. And so who uses the app? Candidate, employer, or both? Everyone. So I know that there'll be an employer listening right now who's like, what is this? How can they get more information about this, Ashley?
Right now, we're just kind of tight-lipped. We're just going to get this thing built, and as soon as we have a splash page, we're going to be putting it out there. I've given some teasers to a couple of companies, and they're pretty excited to see this.
So the long and short of it would be find you on LinkedIn and follow you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So that's the challenge, and for those that has piqued your interest, candidate or employer. So I just want to switch gears a little bit here. I imagine myself having my own business. I know there are moments of overwhelm. And I really think that what sets successful entrepreneurs apart from those who are not successful lies within not the mechanics of the business, but is the mindset. And so this is what I'm talking about. Overwhelm is one of those things that I think we all struggle with from time to time, but we can't drown within it. Do you have days that feel overwhelming, and how do you handle that? That's a question from Shah, Auckland.
Of course I do. You were remiss to say I didn't. As entrepreneurs, we are absolutely going to have all of the feelings, fears, overwhelmed, sadness, lonely. I mean, it's you get a whole bag of stuff that no one tells you about as an entrepreneur. And each day you can just stick your hand in that bag and grab something, because it's going to come at you. And, you just have to take it with grace. You have to accept it for this is a part of it. But the way that I am able to just continue to forge forward is I believe in myself. There are people out there who believe in me, and I know I'm just doing the right thing. And, as long as I continue to believe in that, it makes it all worth it. And sometimes, look, I just did that post yesterday. Don't apologize if you have to just peace out for a little bit. You need to take a step back and kind of regroup. I hit that reset button. My mental health comes first. My family comes first. So they're right in line with one another, and everything else is secondary to that. And, as long as I continue to come back to it, and as I say, initially, keep getting up every single day, and I keep showing up, that's what matters.
I love that. And I'm a firm believer as well of if you're very, very deeply connected to your own values and your purpose. You've shared what your why and your purpose is, and I know mine. Everything comes back to that. It keeps you very, very grounded. And then surrounding yourself with people who lift you up, who don't push you down, I think like cornerstones to success. You don't have to name any names here, but through your journey, talking about surrounding yourself with people who lift you up versus push you down, have there been people along the way that you have had to make difficult decisions about perhaps letting go a little bit? and not having as close in your inner circle, so that you can live out your passion and your purpose.
Absolutely. And of course, I won't name names from a negative light, but you know, there are times where you just have to let go of any type of negativity, any type of the naysayer that you feel just might be squirming their way in. One thing I am learning is that there are some folks now, you get to a point, you know, I've worked really hard to get to where I am. And I have to, it's funny because I have people who just kind of look out for me, people that are really close to me, and they're like, yeah, so that one's kind of riding the wave and trying to catch onto your coattails to grab onto part of what you've worked so hard for. And I just don't think that way. My brain just does not allow me to think in a negative light. And so, but people are working very hard to keep me protected too. So, you know, there are definitely times where taking that step away from that negativity is necessary, but it is still very hard.
It is. I mean, I know I work with women in my program, and one of the things that my women, the mums that I work with, really struggle with is that internal dialogue, or like the self-sabotage things that they tell themselves, or they allow others to infiltrate their thinking. And sometimes it's some really close people who, it's not that they don't want you to be successful, they just don't get your journey. And
right.
So I know I've learned along the way personally as well that there are some people you just might not, they might not be your people. They're in your life, but they might not be the people that you share the stuff that's really going on. And I think being able to discern who those people are in your corner that lift you up is a really important aspect to success as an entrepreneur. So if there's someone right now who's listening, who's wondering, you know, I have big dreams for myself, I've got big goals for myself, but I don't have those people. What would you suggest?
Find those people.
Yeah, and so where? I'm thinking probably say LinkedIn, because there's lots of us over there, but what are the first few things that might set them on the right path?
So my process, quite frankly, was that I sat back for a while and I just watched. I watched LinkedIn. I then turned that into watching Instagram, Facebook, but where my primary focus was LinkedIn. And I watched the platform evolve, and then I jumped in both feet. I mean, I went all in, and I started to just put myself out there by reaching out and asking people to not just connect, but let's take it offline and let's have a conversation. You don't get to know people unless you have those conversations. And if somebody is reaching out, asking for help, for the love of God, give it. I mean, I don't understand, you know, and I'll share an example. There was somebody who reached out to me, I don't know, I'm going to say probably 6-8 weeks ago or so, asking for some help as it relates to LinkedIn and, you know, offering to pay me for it. I don't want you to pay me. It's not where I would consider myself the expert, you know, but if I can help you, sure, I'll help you. And so there was this journey of this individual who was able to then start doing the posts and then the videos and the right hashtags, you know, and all that just silly stuff, but it was monumental for that individual. The bottom line is that if I kept myself shut off or shut down to any thoughts of helping somebody, I wouldn't have this fantastic friendship that came out of that. And somebody that is, quite frankly, a trusted advisor to me. Yeah. So, you know, my purpose was get out here, put myself out there, build the relationships, have those conversations, get to know people. And I mean, literally, I am surrounded by so many wonderful people, but it's all because I put the work into it and I put myself out there. If I hadn't put myself out there, I wouldn't be where I am. No way.
I love the pay it forward idea as well, that you help others. I say this to my boys, you help others when you can, because you never know when you need to be the recipient of help. And you hope that if you are in that situation in the future, that you have given enough that others will give to you and when you're in that time. And not that you do it for that reason, but that's how the whole, you know, I guess that's karma, isn't it? That's how it works.
It's how the universe works. I mean, look, I know that there were many, many times when, through my struggles, I didn't have people reaching out to help. And I certainly wasn't brave enough to reach out and ask for the help. So I urge people, if you're looking for some help, reach out to me, because I'm not going to turn you away. And I think that's probably the biggest fear. People are afraid that they're going to get turned away. And, and it's amazing to me that people, so there was a comment that was made yesterday. You probably don't need to hear this because you hear it all the time. No, stop. Literally, I am one person in this huge world of ours, right? I'm still nobody. So what? I don't even know how many followers, but it's not about that. It's not about the numbers. It's about the impact that I can make.
Absolutely. I love it. So one of our followers and friends on LinkedIn, Lila Smith, she had some cool questions. So
of course she does.
Of course she does.
My Lila.
Of course she does. Okay, so you may know that my tagline is "Be brave, be bold, be happy." And so Lila's curious how those kind of resonate with you. So it's a 3-part question. What do you need? I didn't write all that down. Let's start with this one. Who are the boldest influential people in your life right now? So we were talking about how others may be looking to you as, Ashley is someone who's influencing me and my thoughts, my behaviors, how I show up. Who is sort of you looking to right now as an influencer?
I actually have 2. The first one is Chris Barron, and the second one is Corey Warfield. And I'm not saying that in any specific order. They're 2 very, very important people to me and definitely very influential to me.
Awesome. And a little bit, can you give a little bit of context as to why?
So Chris has been an incredible person as it relates to just really pushing me to just get my nose down. When I said earlier, put your nose down, stay focused, that is exactly where she has put me. And the result of that has been pretty tremendous over the last few weeks, quite frankly. It was ensuring me that, hey, put 1 hour towards a book every day. There was no movement on my book until she and I started to really engage. So the book will be coming. So there's 1 hour every day on my book. There is the belief in my app, as I explained that to her. She is truly that fearless leader that, although she is an author of that book, The Fearless Leader, and there's a lot to be said for that. So I would urge everybody, and this is not a plug, but it is, get her book, because there's so many parts to that book that are so necessary as individuals, as mothers, as, people out there who are just truly out there trying to lead. Corey, holy cow. This is a man that has proven to me that there are ways to give, and you just cannot believe that he can put himself out there. You think, when does this guy sleep? Like, he's all over the place. But he is consistently, it's almost like I see him as always out there rooting for the underdog. And I think there's a lot to be said for that, because I'm still that underdog in my eyes, and he truly does everything that he can to make sure that he's saying things to people to make sure that they believe in themselves. And he is pushing people to give their very best every single day. And he's just always, always, always present. So yeah, I don't even know what to say more. I mean, I can't say enough about him.
I think I really appreciate you sharing that, and shout out to both of those individuals. Because I think it's important for others who are looking at you, who see you showing up in this world in the way that you do, so authentic, so real, making an impact, and yes, with all these followers. I think it's really important that they too hear that you have influences in your life, and that you too all have to have people that surround you and support you. I think it's very easy for us to look at individuals who we look up to and sort of aspire to be like as not having those human qualities. And at the end of the day, that's what this conversation is really all about, is sort of peeling back those layers, as you mentioned that we need to do to get to know you anyway, and really exposing the human behind every successful person.
Well, that's just it. We're all human, and I think that that's forgotten. And so, I've given people, it's so funny, I've had this conversation, people tease me. In fact, Jay Andrews, one of my lovely dear friends, he has said to me, "Don't forget me, when you're rich and famous." And my response to him is just this: you have permission to basically slap the crap out of me. I forget the fact that, there's reality here. I'm still just a nobody. And yes, we are all human. And, it's people like Jay that have helped me along my journey, that have continued to, support me in every way possible, for sure.
I know he'll be very touched to hear that. So another Lila question: what do you need in your life in order to be brave? Because it takes a lot of courage to do a lot of what you have done, Ashley.
Yeah, that is true. I think honestly it is, again, and I know that we've said this and it sounds like the broken record, but it really is surrounding yourself with positive people, building your village. I actually did a post on that not so long ago. Who's in your village? My village is pretty tremendous. And, again, it's having to put yourself out there to build that village, because it's not just gonna happen. A village isn't just gonna come. You've got to go out there and do the work and build the village so that you do have the support surrounding you.
Absolutely. Okay, awesome. And then finally, is being happy a choice or a result?
Yeah, that's a trick question.
Sure is.
I actually think I think it can be both.
I agree.
I think that, again, we talk about mindset, and this is one of the things that I talk about in coaching. It is about creating a space that you're going to be happy in, but then because that space has been created, for what I'm doing, the happiness that comes back to me, and I just actually said this earlier today in response to something that somebody said to me about my stepdaughter's addiction. The bottom line is that we have to put ourselves in a place that we're going to accept life as it comes, but at the same time knowing that we can change it. Right? And that's what changes our mindset, and that's what creates happiness. And then as we continue to give, that in my mind is what creates happiness for two people all at the same time.
Wow, that's powerful. That's really powerful. So, reflecting on your life and all of the challenges and successes and children and grandchildren and marriage, there's so much. There's so much there. What's an accomplishment that you're most proud of?
My kids. Yeah. Even with, and when I say my kids, I mean my wife's children as well. I have been in their lives for, almost 20 years. And, they're human. I just said that today as I talk about my stepdaughter's addiction. She's not just an addict, there's a person behind that. And while, our kids have been through some journey, they're just, that's it. It's, my daughter's amazing for one reason, my son's amazing for another reason. Each one of our kids is extraordinary in some way. So yeah, I think that's hands down.
Hands down. And I know that Emily Ann Valila is curious to know a little bit more about your son, the Air Force veteran.
So surprising me, actually, he's actually going to be showing up today to visit for a couple of days. So that guy is amazing. He suffered a tragic accident and had some brain injury, fractured skull in multiple places, fractured facial bones, all that kind of stuff, broken back. It was pretty horrific.
Wow.
And actually, we are at year number 3 in 7 days. So October 30th is the anniversary of that. It was medevaced. They thought that he was dead on the scene. They were able to bring him back, and he has fought through. And that was part of my aha moment in spending so much time at Walter Reed during his recovery, coming across veterans and their spouses and the wounded warriors. It was horrific, but inspiring all at the same time. And he is 6 years in the Air Force now. He just tested for Staff Sergeant. And just like any other mother out there, I'm proud of him. And, you know, it's funny because my kids tease me. They think that he's my favorite, but the fact of the matter is that they're all my favorite.
And oh no, and I just brought up your son. That's not helping.
It's all good.
I think, you know, especially in the States, sadly it's less so in Canada, but in the States there's obviously quite a spotlight that's shone over individuals who are in the military, and so I think that's garnered some extra attention. But you're right, the love of a mom. I've got 4 boys, and they're often, when I tuck them in at night, they ask, "I'm your favorite, right?" they try to get it out of me at every moment possible. I think it's
and you answer yes to every single one of them, right?
You're my favorite in your own way.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't fly. So, you know, if we fast forward now to later in life, like, what is it that you want your legacy to be? This is Eric Martin. He's curious to know.
My legacy, and I know why Eric asked that question, because I say to him all the time, I'm here to change the world. And I truly want to do that. And if it's one story at a time, it's removing the labels. It's truly being able to, if I were to, you know, take a look and just kind of sit back and if I were able to see into the future, I would love to be able to say that the stigmas are gone, that people are genuinely wanting to help each other across the board. You know, I believe in the rainbows and the unicorns. I know that it's not possible every single day, but I know they're out there. And I think that, you know, people just need to start thinking more positive about life and about other humans. No labels, no colors, no distinction. We're just all human.
I wish that we were at the end of the show. Like, that's like a drop the mic moment.
Right?
Honestly, wow. And so along those lines, what does the world need more of? What do we need more of to get that?
Understanding, compassion, heart, warmth, openness, honesty, authenticity. Everything that I try to bring to my stories every single day, everything that I try to bring to my listeners every single day.
How do we bring that to business? What's your thought on that?
Exactly what I'm doing. I think that people don't realize the impact that they can have as individuals, and I think that that's huge. Believe that you can make an impact, believe that you can make a difference, and go do it. Stop doubting yourself.
I'm a big fan of Mel Robbins and her 5-second rule book. I don't know if you're familiar with that book or not, the concept. And that is sort of along the lines of what you're saying is stop thinking so much and just do. You know, and the idea for her is that, you know, you've got 5 seconds to do what you just thought of, like to take action, to get up and take action before your brain will undecide and talk you out of it. And so I love what you said, believe you can do it and go and do it.
Mm-hmm. And it's sometimes the simplest of things. I mean, if you see that there's an empty seat, I just did this the other day. You know, I'm sitting at a booth with my wife, hanging out, watching or listening to some music, and there are 2 empty seats, and I see people standing. So what? Let's share a table. So get up and go invite them to your table. And I think there are people out there who just hesitate because it's like, they're going to be uncomfortable, or, you know, but we don't know them. Get to know them. And now guess what? I have 2 really awesome friends because of it. People that I'm getting to know better because of it.
It's funny. It's funny. I sometimes I'll go online and read the good news stories. Like there's actually websites that post good news. Imagine, right? Because it's certainly not. Awesome. Yeah, it's certainly not on the news that is most typically watched. So I go online, and I just read an article this morning, and I'm forgetting some of the details, but it's about this coffee shop that actually has a section of the coffee shop that's for strangers just to go and sit at whatever table they want, purely for the purpose of connection, for not to pick up. It's not a dating thing. It's just hey, like, let's be human, peeps. And I thought it was awesome.
I am often accused by my wife, you'll just talk to anybody, won't you? And I'm like, well, yeah, why not? I mean, it just feels so natural to me. People, as you check out at the grocery store, ask about their day. They're not there just to bag your food and to total up your grocery bill. You know, ask them how they're doing, because you never know. Let everybody that you cross paths with, you have a way to either make them feel really crappy, or you can make them feel important. What would you prefer?
Oh, I love it. I love it. It's so easy just to be curious, to be open and to be curious. And the grocery store is a funny place, actually. The grocery store is where I was inspired to, you talked about being on your couch looking at your granddaughter after your surgery, where you had your aha moment about anchored kids. The grocery store was where I had my aha moment about helping moms redefine motherhood. Because I would see these hurried moms tearing around the grocery store after a busy day at work, holding on to their kids, trying to get some healthy food, knowing full well they were going to be rushing home, shoving food in their kids' mouths that was somewhat healthy so they wouldn't be judged by other mamas, trying to take their kids then to the evening's activities, come home and, go to bed and start all over again. And that deadness in their eyes, the soul just was not at all alive. And so it was in that moment that I was like, that's what I'm here to do, to make it, to make a difference. So the grocery stores, I know you are using that as an example. It's actually a very real place that I do try to connect with people, and they're surprised. People are surprised. So we have a couple minutes to wrap up, Ashley, and I want to make sure that you have the opportunity to share with people, who are the people that should be reaching out to you right now? What would they be feeling or thinking that would make them say, yes, Ashley's the right person for me to reach out to, and how would they reach you?
So LinkedIn is definitely where you can reach me. So I'm going to say it, and this is following everything or encouraging everything that I've already said. Whoever you are, I'm not going to turn you away. So don't be afraid. If you only have 100 connections, that I'm going to say, who are you? I accept anybody into my circle until you prove to me I can't have you there. But if it's clients, if it's, candidates for recruiting purposes, diversity, that means anything that's different, and, minority groups. In addition to that, anybody who's struggling from any and all adversity, or have been, or they're in the midst of it, I will listen. Hop on my website, anchoredsouls.net. Anchor Kids is still being constructed, but we're getting there. And of course, like I said, I am on the other social media platforms.
Ashley, I cannot tell you how thrilled I am to have spent this last hour with you. Thank you so much, as always, for just being such a genuine, amazing soul, and for sharing that with me and my listeners today.
Absolutely. It was great being here. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. So I'd like to also thank all my loyal listeners at this time and followers, and remind you that information about my radio show, about my Redefining Motherhood Academy, And about all of my guests, including Ashley, can be found on my website, louisehreed.com. And also a big shout out, as always, to my amazing producer, Cameron Steele. And finally, I'm here to highlight and showcase people who are taking brave, bold action in their lives, whose lives have an impact in our world. So with that said, I'd like to encourage you all to be brave, be bold, and be happy. Until next Tuesday at this time, I'm Louise H. Reed, wishing you an amazing day. Goodbye, friends.
Okay, you're clear.
Thank you, Cameron.
Thank you.
Ah,
That went quick.
did it?
Yeah, that really went quick. That was awesome.
Oh, I'm so glad. That was so fun.
Yeah, that was really awesome. That was a good chat. I liked it.
I'm glad. You happy with the stuff that you got to convey and
Absolutely.
share?
I mean, it's like you and I talking any other time. It was pretty easy.
I'm glad.
Pretty easy. The ones I don't really care for much is if I don't really know you,
Okay.
I don't know your style, you know. So it was really easy to have a conversation with you, and